ever hook a fish only to have it get off the hook before it could be landed? The same thing has happened to every fisherman. Because, as everyone knows, hooking the fish is one thing and landing it is something else again. And there's plenty that can happen in between. The fisherman might let the fish tangle his line in something on the bottom, or he might try to force the fish in too fast and break the line. Or on the other hand, he might let his line get too slack and give the fish a chance to throw the hook. But in any case, it comes to the same thing. That's one fish that will never see the frying pan and one fish dinner the fisherman won't have. Now, it's nice to talk about fishing, but as might be suspected, there's a tie-in here with selling cars and with collecting the commission for the sale. When the customer signs the order, the salesman is like the fisherman who just got a big one on the line. He's done a good job so far, but a lot can happen before he puts a commission in his pocket. Remember, this customer probably started thinking about this car a long time ago. It took him weeks to decide to buy a car, pick the color, and make the deal. But as you know only too well, once he's signed the order, he wants the new car now. Not next month, not next week, but now. Because, brother, he can just taste that swell new car. But maybe he does have to wait. And that's where a salesman can start to lose the sale he's already made. Because maybe the customer will come into contact with a competitive salesman and decide not to wait for the car he really wants. Or perhaps the customer doesn't hear from the man who sold him the car, and he gets disgusted and blows the deal. The salesman's job in this waiting period isn't easy. How does he handle the customer? How does he keep the line from being broken long enough to land him? Well, summing up some interviews with salesmen, here are the high spots of how many of them are handling the problem. Or, more accurately, handling it so that it doesn't become a problem. Let's back up for a moment to something that can come up before the customer signed the order. He might say something like this.
That's an awful long time to wait for a car. I hear Ford and Chevrolet advertising immediate delivery every day. How come they can do it and you can't?
Well, that's a good question, Mr. Watson. You do have to wait a little longer, but I can show you why, and why it's worth the wait. This car you're buying is the most wanted car in America, and the model you've picked is especially popular. You see what I'm getting at, Mr. Watson? Maybe one reason Ford and Chevrolet have cars to deliver is that so many people have picked Plymouth, even though they have to wait for it.
All that salesman did was make the bait a little more attractive. He let the prospect know he'd made the popular choice, one worth waiting for. Now, sometimes the complaint comes up after the order is signed. Listen to how successful salesmen handle a complaint like this one.
I'd sure like to get delivery a little sooner than that.
Well, sir, I'm going to work to get it for you sooner. I not only want to see you behind the wheel of a new car, but I don't get my commission until you get the car. So I'll do everything possible to speed up this delivery, believe me.
As you could tell, that salesman was letting the customer see him as a friend and ally, working with him to get the car out. Here's another way to assure the man that you're working with him. Suppose you made it a point to call the customer periodically throughout the waiting period. On the surface, each call is a report of progress being made in getting the car. But don't the calls also serve to cement the customer's feeling of friendship for you? The call makes the customer feel that he has not been forgotten now that his order is in. So it takes some of the curse from waiting. Also, the phone call is an opportunity for you to feel out how the customer is taking the wait, and especially if the customer is in danger of being lured away by a competitor who's promising faster delivery. Finally, if the customer hears from you once in a while, there's less likelihood that he'll build up a head of steam about waiting so long. On the other hand, if the customer thinks he's being neglected, he may get mad. That's when he charges in to say, "Where the hell is my car?" Then he's going to be much harder to hold. So you can see why it's a good idea to make those periodic calls. Now here's the way some salesmen try to eliminate the wait for delivery. They attempt to switch the customer to a model in stock once he signed the order. A salesman tells this story of how he learned the value of trying to sell out of stock. A man he had waiting for delivery on a Belvedere V8 got involved with an alert and aggressive Ford salesman and ended up with a Ford in his garage. Now, the Ford salesman wasn't any more able to deliver a Fairlane 500 at that time than the Plymouth salesman was able to deliver a Belvedere V8. What the Ford salesman delivered was a Custom 300 out of stock. The man had taken the Custom willingly. He was that anxious to get into a new car immediately. And what killed the Plymouth salesman was that he had a Savoy in stock, in the customer's body style and color, too. He just never thought to offer it because the customer had talked in terms of a Belvedere. If this true story proves one thing, it's that you can't tell how much a customer will compromise on model, body style, power, color, or accessories once he signs the order and gets the "I want it now" fever. So why not try dangling a slightly different bait in front of a customer? Try switching him to one of the inventory cars after he's signed, or any time during the waiting period. What can you lose? There's just one more thing that can make it easier for a salesman to keep a customer waiting. And that's the business of telling him how long. Take a salesman who knows that the wait for a particular model is at least a month. Suppose he said,
We can get that car for you inside of 2 weeks, Mr. Roberts. I'll get hot on it right this minute. How's that for action?
That's just fine for action. Until the 15th day, when the customer calls up and gets a brush off. That's when many a customer throws the hook, blows the deal, and heads for another dealer. But suppose we do not give a definite date. Instead, a salesman can talk about the value of waiting for a Plymouth and then say,
It might take a little time, but I'm going to push it through fast because they don't deliver my commission until I deliver your car. I'll find out and call you just as soon as I know anything.
And a week later, the salesman does call.
We got a terrific-looking two-door in today. It's not the body style you ordered, but it's just your color, and it has everything you wanted on it. I could have it parked out at your house tonight if you'd like to see it. No? Okay, I'll keep in touch.
And of course he does, before the customer gets in touch with him.
Yes, sir. I wanted you to know that I'm on top of your order, and I expect some good news for you within 2 weeks.
Sure, the salesman in this example is stalling his customer. He knows the factory will handle the production because he also knows nobody collects until that car is delivered. More important, he knows that if he keeps in touch with the customer, if he lets him know he's fighting the customer's battle, he'll land that sale. Well, what do you think? Would the ideas in this film work for you? Selling the customer on the value of waiting for the car he chose, using the personal touch by letting him know you're fighting his battle, trying to deliver a similar car out of stock, keeping in close contact. Can you use these ideas? Have you got some better ideas? Talk it over. Then, on the other side of this record, you'll hear some recorded conversations between salesmen and customers. Maybe you'll run across an idea you can put to work.